All right, thanks for having me. Already went over the introduction. So the problem that we aim to solve is accurate and timely diagnosis of statin intolerance, which is a big problem in our heart disease patients. So heart attacks and stroke continue to be the top causes of death in the United States and worldwide. And statins are one of the best tools for preventing heart disease. So estimates of statin intolerance are as high as 50% in some studies, and identifying these patients can be really tricky. So if we go to the problem, um, basically in a case, why is it doing that? So we have a 55-year-old gentleman as an example, John Doe, without any significant medical history. He comes for a follow-up because they noted high cholesterol in his labs. He's prescribed Lipitor, which is a very common statin. And for about a week, he takes it and he starts to feel muscle pain in both arms and legs. So his primary care physician stops it and starts him on an alternative, less effective medication. So on follow-up lab, his cholesterol, his LDL is a little bit less, but not optimal. So does he really have statin intolerance? No, I would argue. They're why does it matter? They're the most effective in lowering cholesterol, which means it lowers his risk of getting stroke or MI, heart attack later on. So our solution is a software program, AI, basically artificial intelligence that cardiologists and programmers will jointly come up with using natural language processing to comb the EHR, the electronic health record, for patients who may be statin intolerant. So the software program identifies them, flags them, and then allows the primary care physician to see that this patient may have statin intolerance and may need a consulting service. So the market opportunity is extensive. It would be any EHR used by primary care practices. The segment of the market is basically anybody with heart disease who has tried a statin and has been unsuccessful in tolerating it. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Naz. Really good pitch. Judges, do you have questions for Naz? Let's start with Dr. Hadass.
No question at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Hill?
So the solution, you mentioned AI, and is this a continuously improving type of model where as you gain more data, or is there existing data that you're training and then using a classifier to predict for the patient that you have before you? How do you envision the service to work?
That's a great question. So the beta prototype will be done by the latter method that you mentioned. So it'll come through all the physician notes or provider notes and essentially teach it how to identify the possible statin intolerant patient. I don't know further on. I mean, it would be cool to do it in real time and continuously make sure that it's optimized.
And is there any opportunity for feedback for any particular patient and outcomes that result from that encounter and the decision to treat with an alternative or with continued treatment?
We would ideally track their LDL in the beginning, but it would also be prudent to see whether or not those patients with their LDL lowered by being identified by the AI, whether or not they have any MIs or strokes within the next decade.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Franchini?
I guess I had a question on training it properly. Have you estimated or worked out what size of a patient population of like EMR or EMRs, EHRs, whatever, that you're gonna have to input into your AI, and how long that would take to really get a good training done on a population size? It's gonna make this really show efficacy.
Yeah, so our beta prototype will use 100 patients, but we've already identified over 150,000 using the URMC's database. The 100 patients is basically just so that we don't overwhelm the system, and we're applying for grant funding. So once that kicks in, it'll probably take about 2 years, give or take, for the AI to be fully trained. But the computer programmer said that 10,000 patients would be ideal to begin with.
And then from a financial perspective, if someone was investing in this, where are you generating your revenue? Just from licensing this to medical centers and healthcare associations?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think about the business prospect of it until I know the competition like 3 days ago. But
That's right, yeah, that's okay.
it wasn't a monetary thing to begin with. It was just me being a nerd. But yeah, we would essentially sell or license it out to Epic and EHR platforms, or maybe even to the hospital systems themselves, and go through it that way. I'm not sure how the interface between Epic works and other software. I'm assuming we have to get Epic's approval to unleash any AI into their system.
Okay, yeah. Well, at least you're thinking about it.
Yeah, and this is Bob Block. I'm mentoring Naz. I'm a preventive cardiologist here, and basically Dr. Robert Hill's a neighbor. I know you too. So basically, what I could also add is that yes, we are seeking grant funding, and hopefully the grant funding in collaboration with people at RIT will help us to at least to generate the preliminary work that we need to take care of.
Dr. Feldon?
Yes, I'd just like a little clarification on the AI component. Is it to diagnose intolerance, or is it to recommend a therapeutic alternative, or both?
So we're initially starting out just identifying the patients who possibly have statin intolerance, and then we could work from there. And I think alternatives would kind of pop up once the identification is made, but where our focus is diagnosis first.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm wondering, if they're not intolerant or have symptoms that could be intolerant, and then they wouldn't be communicating with their doctor. So there's sort of a tautology there that by definition, when they contact their doctor, they're going to have something that's bothering at least them. So you have a selection bias that for the identification piece.
So initially, the way we identify the patients is looking at any patient who's been on a statin, ideally more than 2. So there will be different groups. The ones that have been tried on 2 different statins through their prescription history. And then we'll look at their LDL levels, and we'll also look at whether or not they are on a current statin. And yeah, there is a bit of, so then once they're identified, the AI will look at the patient notes and see whether or not if they have muscle pain. And then there'll be 3 categories. There'll be the not statin intolerant at all. And then there's going to be the question mark statin intolerance, meaning the AI says that they're not statin intolerant, but they're not on a statin because they think, or their provider thinks, maybe they're incorrectly identified as statin intolerant. And that's the biggest patient group that we want to affect a bit of change in, because it's misdiagnosed so often.
Okay, thank you, Naz. Very
Sure.
good job.
Thank you.
Judges, take a minute to finish your notes, and we're going to move on to the next contestant. Team Medico, Gomant Reddy Dumpa. Do we have Team Medico here? Team Medico. Well, if we don't have Team Medico, then we'll move on to Health Guru. We have Health Guru here. Well, if we don't have Health Guru, then we'll move on to Flowtonics with Daniel Steiner.
Alrighty, thank you, Brandon, for putting this on. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. So give me a quick second to do that. All right, I think you guys are seeing the good version of the PowerPoint, hopefully.
Yep, when you're ready, I'll give you the 3, 2, 1.
All right, sounds good. All right, I'm ready. So just 3, 2, 1 me whenever.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, pitch.
Hello, today I'm going to talk to you guys about how we can use Flowtonic disposable photonic technology as triage at the point of care. So patients generate revenue for hospitals. Increasing patient turnover reduces wait times and improves patient health. The rate limiting step is triaging patients. Diagnosing severity and providing risk stratification is a complicated, time-consuming process that Flowtonics will solve. Our disposable photonic technology will make this process simple and very, very rapid to increase that patient turnover to generate revenue for hospitals. So Flowtonics utilizes state-of-the-art laboratory tests by miniaturizing optical fibers to measure biology. Our photonic sensors are small rings that have antibodies on them that can detect biomarkers of interest. These are tessellated over the surface of a silicon photonic chip and then combined with a very inexpensive plastic passive fluidics disposable device to then measure biological response to different analytes. We can combine many different analytes or many different analyte detections onto a single PIC or a single chip, excuse me, and this can give us answers about questions that we have for patients, such as an example of SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. Were they PCR positive, or did they demonstrate immune response for a PCR positive or PCR negative test? Have they received a vaccine, and are they positive for other upper respiratory pathogens like flu A and flu B? So Flowtonics provides the information physicians need in order to triage patients. Our initial target is going to be looking at cardiac issues, where we can demonstratively, definitively diagnose acute coronary syndrome versus heart failure by using a variety of analytes that are triple controlled on a single PIC. We'll be able to do this faster with higher sensitivity and cheaper than what's currently in the point of care diagnostic space. The current competition is large, the competition space is large, but Flowtonics can provide a better product with lower COGS and a better price point. Our initial strategy is going to follow a business-to-business structure where our customers are going to be point of care coordinators in regional hospital systems. Our ideal initial sales strategy will be to target 5% of the 188 New York State emergency departments. This should generate $4.3 million revenue by selling only 160,000 units, selling them at a price per test that is competitive within the market. Now, while this is going to be our initial target market, the global point of care diagnostic market, which we expect that we can expand into, is quite large and only expected to grow over the coming years. Our team, Benjamin Miller, Michael Bryan, and myself, developed the technology with a bunch of other collaborations. And currently, we are seeking a $5 million A round to scale from tens to hundreds of thousands of devices to further demonstrate that our technology can pass FDA compliance and get that approval to start moving into that point of care diagnostic market. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Really great pitch. Dr. Hill, would you like to start us off with questions?
Hey, Daniel. Nice pitch. I recall talking to you at the poster session not too long ago.
Yep.
And how many different tests can you load onto one chip?
So depending on we can perform on our current round of picks up to 8 different analytes, but we have designs for a slightly different scheme than what I've shown here for up to 32 different individual biomarkers that can be detected. We've got plans to expand into more, but currently we are looking at the 8-plex system.
And with the in the triage, would it be basic symptom questions that would determine the panel that you would assign to a patient, or how would you narrow it down?
Yeah, so our example, or what we're trying to target, is initially cardiovascular disease. So it turns out that like 30% of all patients that are admitted into EDs have chest pain. So if they go in and they say, I have chest pain, I think I might be having a heart attack, they would get a blood sample, they would perform a cardiac panel, and this would measure BNP and things like CRP, CTNI, CTNT, CTNC, and give the physicians a better understanding of what their current cardiovascular health state is, to sort of stratify them into, okay, this person had a cardiovascular event, is going to need a bunch of different care, or they had super hot chicken wings the night before, and it's just like acid reflux.
All right, I might have some more questions, but I'll let others jump in.
Yeah, Dr. Franchini?
Great presentation. Question about scaling and production. How easy is it to produce these units? And have you thought about how quickly you can get up to 160,000 units, let's just say in a year of production?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So on the photonic chip side, AIM Photonics, the foundry at SUNY Poly, which is state of the art, already makes, they provide all of the manufacturing, and they can scale up to millions of individual picks per year. We receive in 5 wafers per batch, 5 300 millimeter silicon wafers. There's about 14,000 chips per wafer. They said that scaling that should be no issue whatsoever, up to 1 million per year. Anything larger than that, then we'd have to reach out and sort of translate the process to a global foundry, like Global Foundries actually is what they're called.
Yep.
From the disposable microfluidic card side, those are injection molded. We receive thousands of those in per every few months from Syntech Optics, which is a local Rochester company. We've already been in discussions with them to see how fast and how far they could scale. And they say as long as they can make the molds, they can scale to whatever we need, because they are already set up to be a global manufacturer for a bunch of different disposable plastic polymer bits. So printing the biology on the picks is also pretty straightforward. That's an all automated process that we do right here at the U of R. And then the reader input output boxes, which I didn't discuss today, those are in development. We've had 10 made already, or approximately 10 made, and we are talking to our collaborators at RIT about how we can get that number way up. But the number of input output reader boxes is definitely significantly less than what you would need for the disposables at the point of care.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Feldon?
Yeah, a couple of short questions. First is, what's the sensitivity and reliability of these, let's say the cardiovascular tests, since that's what you're leading with, what kind of evaluation have you had to date relative to standard testing?
So evaluations to date, we haven't done direct comparisons, but our collaborators at Kydell Ortho Clinical Diagnostics have offered to sort of do the head-to-head comparison with their clinical analyzer technology. For the sensitivities and specificities for the cardiac panel, to date, we've looked at CRP and CTNI, and our CTNI detection is right on par with what the industry sustains, which is in the single picogram per mil regime for the lower limit of detection. And then CRP, CRP is easy to detect because it's like 5 times the size of CTNI at, we can get down to 10 or so, or like hundreds of picograms per mil for that. but we can go way lower with that sensitivity as well.
And I guess the other question is just, EDs are busy places and usually understaffed, and you're asking them to do testing, and to take the time to set up the tests compared to just sending it out and getting on to the next patient. Do you think that this is a barrier to entry? And if so, how would you deal with it?
So we don't think that is a barrier to entry, because with the customer discovery interviews we've had with some cardiologists, apparently the U of R emergency department, when they suspect a cardiovascular event, already perform up to 3 cardiac troponin assays per visit, a couple of hours apart. So we are imagining a situation where instead of having to perform 3 different assays to detect a trajectory level of cardiac troponin, we can combine multiple different biomarkers so that one test, one draw, right at the point of care will give you an answer within 5 minutes, as opposed to having to spread out that time, which leads to overboarding or can reduce the overboarding of emergency departments. But for things other than cardiovascular events, we would need to look into what targets we would need on a panel to really reduce the complexity of that triaging step for emergency department physicians.
Thank you.
A quick follow-up on that. So the test is quantitative, or is it binary readout?
It is going to be quantitative with, so our photonic sensors give quantitative measures, but for the actual triaging / diagnosis step, I think we're leaning towards a rule in, rule out criteria just to make things simple. But all of the quantitative data will be available for that analysis.
So
there'll probably be some
I'd like to move on. Dr. Hill, we had to move on to Dr. Hadass. You can save questions for the end.
Yeah, thank you. I have 2 questions, actually. Dr. Feldman addressed some of them. So first of all, you have to provide some validation or comparison to a gold standards devices that are in the market. So this is a must to have. Second question, who delivered the test? And the question, if somebody with a lower level of trainee can deliver the test, kind of the intention of a telehealth, if you can have somebody, a nurse or somebody in a different clinic, and save you some time and money and cost to deliver a test. Is that something you guys envisioning or possible to do?
Yeah, so our assays, our end goal is going to be CLIA waived, FDA approved tests. We are working on a single step adhesion and just slide the thing into a vise, similar to what iStat or Kydell Triage or whatever already have on the market.
Okay, good. Great job. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Really great job. I will unpin you and
Let's try to, yeah, there we go.
and we'll move on.
Thank you, Brandon.
Very welcome. So our next competitor, and thank you, judges. Please take a minute to finish up your feedbacks here. Our next competitor is Gut Sounds with Krish Jain. So Krish, if you're around.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Is it too loud or too soft? Sometimes my mic gets weird.
No, you're doing fine.
Is it good? Okay. Share. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect.
Okay, I will give you a 3, 2, 1. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, pitch.
Okay, hi. So this is Gut Sounds, a gastrointestinal health diagnostic tool with the precision of an advanced AI doctor and comfort of a mobile application. 1 sec. So 40% of people worldwide meet the criteria of gastrointestinal diseases, but only 36%, but 36% of them get diagnosed late, and over half not at all. Often due to hesitancy to visit doctors over what might be like small issues that you don't need to deal with. The current free diagnostic tools are very invasive, uncomfortable, and time-consuming. They're extremely costly as well. So they're difficult to manage the symptoms and track their progress. They're inconvenient because they require trips to testing clinics, and they're inaccessible due to the cost reasons in like major parts of like the developing world, and that can lead to delayed diagnosis and like health problems. So you might think it's not a big problem. That's what most people think, but it's really a big problem because a lot of gastrointestinal diseases such as ulcers, celiacs, and gastritis start off with very basic symptoms like bloating and stomach aches, but these can be fatal with lack of diagnosis. So our solution is a mobile application that pre-diagnoses GI diseases that's powered by AI. So Gust Sounds users simply record the abdominal sounds and visual data using their mobile phone, feeding our AI. Our advanced algorithms analyze the data and learn about each user's unique gastrointestinal status, improving pre-diagnosis accuracy over time. So this creates personalized pre-diagnostic profiles for each user. It's convenient, accessible, personalized, and non-invasive. So it's fast and efficient to pre-diagnose gastrointestinal diseases. The market size is great as $1.8 billion by 2027. That's a projection. Our business model is to offer freemium model for the users and for the doctors alike. So for the medical professional and for insurance companies, we would offer this month. So the competitors are, like I said, invasive and they're not extremely accurate. Ours would be completely accessible over the phone and fast. So for the doctors, they can get listed on the app and pay a listing fee, and it helps organize the market of gastros by helping discover them. For the customer, it's a freemium model, subscription-based. So our audience is people who care about their healthcare, and for doctors, for example, we're asking $500 because it helps develop and market our applications. And with this prize money, we will be able to invest in marketing initiatives. In addition to this, we can hire additional technical staff and marketing staff, and we can cover the operating costs as a startup. So our team is composed of Sharon Agarwal, an angel investor in LLC alum, who's also a VC fund advisor, Kia Othiano, who's a biology consultant, and me, who I am a CS undergraduate student at the University of Rochester. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Krish. Very good pitch. Judges, let's start with Dr. Franchini.
Yeah, so just because I recently went through something similar to this, how are you going to train this AI on different conditions so that you can predict and get to your, a very short diagnosis time instead of the 2 to 5 days. So how are you going to differentiate between conditions or pick your first, clinical trial population?
For sure. So I've been speaking with Professor Ashwin from MIT about this to gather the gold standard data. So this was just a coincidence because he'd been working on something similar to this with a PhD candidate 3 years back or so. And the project was now finished because of personal reasons of the PhD candidate. So one idea he had was to collect a lot of data, like gold standard data, by embedding like microphones in bed sheets, which will just help us get the initial data to help us bootstrap. And moving on from that, we could keep on feeding our model like anonymized data from our users using the application. And it's hard to picture. Yeah. So if you see, so the current barriers to entry are patent protection and compliance with regulations and talent acquisition, as well as building brand recognition. But I've been speaking with VCs, angel investors like Sharon Agarwal and the MIT professor, as well as Bill from URMC. So that having medical professionals on our advisory board will help add credibility. Because I'm a CS undergrad who doesn't have a lot of background with the medical field. However, I have necessary expertise to help build a product.
Okay. All right. You can move on.
Dr. Feldon?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to recommend a name change and call it Gut Check instead of Gut Sounds. And so I think that'll resonate marketing wise. So I think this is, the question I have is that, first of all, do we have any evidence that the sounds are going to differentiate or just say something's wrong, but we don't know what? So is it just sort of a general screening tool, or is it meant to be diagnostic? You have a scale problem, I think, that maybe you want to address, which is if 40% of all patients, people in the world have GI problems, you know, how are you going to use this to decide who gets triaged in for further testing and who not? Because there are going to be a lot of people who have abnormal bowel sounds, let's say, but, you know, may not need anything to be done about it.
The app would send a brief to the doctor as well, who would be in a better position to use the data that it's collected to be able to make a diagnostic, judge whether it's a serious issue or not, right? And in addition to that, our app would keep on learning, like it performs continual learning using the data that new users and existing users upload, and that would help make our model better. And there's been a lot of research to show that modern mobile phones are microphones which are fairly accessible, right? Today are almost as good as stethoscopes, which is one major tool doctors use to diagnose gastrointestinal issues.
Okay, Dr. Hadass?
Yeah, great speech. Thank you for that. I got two questions. One, you said that you're going to collect the data with the microphone and the sheets, very sensitive microphone. My question is that can be transferred to use your cell phone and then track some noises while you're walking around or outside your bed. And second thing, if you can share with us your business plan, how you plan to bring this product to the market and where is the revenue?
Yeah, for sure. So about the first thing, the microphones and bed sheets will just be there for the initial data collection. And after that, we will use the sounds recorded by the users to feed a model. And for the business model, so it's a freemium-based model. So we have a subscription fee of $10 per month, and we estimated the customer acquisition cost would be $20, and customer LTV would be $250 based on a 12-month customer lifetime, and 30% retention rate.
Okay. Let me just get back to the first question, please. So can you use any microphone or just your specific sensitive microphones for diagnostic?
The sensitive microphones are just for helping collect the gold standard data. We would use the patient's mobile phone's microphone.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Hill?
So bowel sounds are important, but in making a diagnosis, history and other symptoms are very valuable. Do you plan on incorporating the patient history and other questions that would help with the diagnosis?
For sure. So we would have a customer, like each patient's like custom profile made for them. Also with the main part of that would be the patient history, but we would also add our bowel sounds recording and all of that data as well, and the diagnostic data. And we would, so basically what this would do is for our business-to-business model, the doctors can be listed on the app and pay a listing fee. And we can also reach out to insurance companies for the same. And this would help organize the market of gastros by helping discover them, which is a major problem that the US healthcare industry faces today.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, Krish. Very good job. Thank you, judges. I will unpin you. Okay, so our next competitor is drugs with Michal Shaposhnikov. Michal,
Hello.
hi, let me just pin you really quick.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Is it good?
Yep, I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, pitch.
Hello, my name is Michal Shaposhnikov, founder, author, and illustrator of Drugs, the series. In our lives, science happens all around us every day, from the technology we're using to the transportation we're taking, all the way to the foods and medications we're consuming. As humans, especially children, we all seek out answers to questions about our environment. Unfortunately, the explanation behind the science suffers from a huge communication gap between scientists and the general population. A 2018 survey showed that around 66% of American parents cannot answer their children's scientific questions, and it is not their fault. As of now, the most common platform for scientific communication is delivered in a jargon-filled article format available by purchase anywhere from $10 per article up to $70 per article. This further widens the gap between people of different educations, English proficiency, and socioeconomic means. Medical scientific communication is especially important in health emergencies and in improving patients' compliance to medications. In fact, educating the patient of their medicine significantly improves patients' compliance, treatment outcomes, and it's implemented in clinical practice. As a pharmacology PhD candidate and an aspiring academic, I am dedicated to work towards minimizing the communication gap in the pharmacology field. As a kid, I was fascinated with diseases and their corresponding medications, but found very limited resources to satisfy my curiosity until a much older age. This is why I created Drugs, the series. I strongly believe scientific knowledge should be made available to kids from a young age, and scientific communication should be available to everyone, regardless of class, occupation, age, and education. In the US alone, there are over 14 million households with at least one child, all contributing to a $2.62 billion market that we'll be able to tap into. Drugs is a children's book series developed into a communication platform that brings parents, educators, and children alike to deliver medical information in an accessible and fun way. It is simple, affordable, and available on Amazon. Selling at $2.99 per copy, anyone can buy it. With our target audience being kids age 6 and up, it is my goal to help answer the questions about medicine and drugs. Written in rhymes and enriched in informational text boxes, Drugs becomes a tool for parents during shared reading time, providing everyone with a fun and light read while answering any questions that can pop up along the way. With many topics to be explored, drugs can become a tool for education of many other medications and diseases like vaccines and chemotherapies. Enriched with fun and scientifically accurate illustrations, Drugs is a lot more than just a book. To adults, it is a tool. For children, it is answers for unsolved mysteries. And to us all, it is a step from bringing the gap in science communication just a bit closer. Thank you so much. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Michal. Great pitch. I will open up for questions with judges. Dr. Felden, you want to start us off?
Sure. A really novel concept. What is the age target age that you're looking at with these pamphlets?
Yeah, so these are targeted to age groups of children 6 to 8, since it is actually a critical point, since shared reading time with parents decreases by half at ages 9 to 11.
The other question I have really is scalability. If you're writing all these things, then first of all, the drugs will change and the science will change, obviously. And I'm just wondering how you plan to scale it so it's commercially viable.
Of course. So The way that I have it published right now, so I self-publish through Amazon. So publishing and retraction is very simple because I don't have to go through a third-party publisher. So I actually, I've went through that with the science changing. In the beginning of the pandemic, I published the COVID-19 book, but it was very much based on the first information that was coming in. We know COVID and the vaccine information that was available. It changed. It was very dynamic. So I actually retracted the COVID-19 book and I'm making edits. Even with the antibiotics, it's something that there will always be new versions. And the way to scale it would be not only to limit it to the books themselves. They're available in ebooks, and I'm working right now to developing them in hardcover, but also reaching out to social media platforms. There's quite a bit of different accounts, either on common platforms like Instagram or having their own social media platform like a website. And you'll be able to really update it daily and reach a much larger audience as well through that.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hadass.
Yeah, great pitch, Michal. My question is, like Dr. Feldon, how are you going to update, I guess, the books, making a hard copy, maybe like you have to destroy the COVID-19 books. But my second question is, what will you do with kids or parents that don't believe in drugs, basically, and believe more therapeutic medicines? And how do you compete with Google or Alexa or Siri, basically, that are free?
Yeah, so the way to scale it is definitely, I think that releasing ebooks for a lot of the more dynamic things that we know. So for example, the COVID-19 was only available in ebooks versus the antibiotics where I talk about penicillin, erythromycin, those are very solidified drugs with quite a bit of evidence behind them. Those are going to be released in hardcover. So keeping it with ebooks allows me to really publish and retract very quickly, as well as place warnings, just like they have in publications, being like, this article has been retracted, and then compensate the people who have purchased the older books to just make sure that the information is available. And the way that I'm going to compete with Google or Alexa, even though they're free, they have a lot of other resources that are not necessarily reliable, versus these are coming from a PhD candidate for pharmacology, which is and I'll be able to get all my other resources. Also, the language here in my books are very simple, and all the book rhymes. So it would just be a very easier way to access more brains.
Okay, one more quick question. So what is your profit margin if you're selling those books for $3?
Yes, so for the ebooks is $3. As of now, when I'm just selling the ebooks, so it is about 30% of that goes to Amazon and 70% goes to me. So that's per copy. And then also when I do scale it more towards social media platform, with increased following, there's more opportunities to get more profit through advertisements and all those additional things along the way.
Very great, thank you. Good job.
Okay, Dr. Hill.
So I think it's really well presented, and I'm wondering about how do you balance demand for drugs that might be inappropriate in the case of overuse of antibiotics. How do you get it down to the specific situation that a family might be dealing with?
Yeah. So this is kind of more so less of a case-by-case basis and more so just broaden education, especially since there's a lot of instances where a family would get prescribed some sort of antibiotics and the doctor just tells them to take it, and that's what they end up doing. They sometimes don't even finish the prescription because they don't even know that that's what they're supposed to do. So right. To provide my goal is to provide a explanation to the family about what is a eukaryote versus prokaryote, why it's important, why antibiotics harm the bacteria and not harm us, how, and like I have had the 2 mechanism of action for antibiotics against gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, and just kind of explaining through that. So it's just giving a very just like the building blocks and the foundation of knowledge for how this class of drugs work. And then they'll be able to build on that information by themselves through talking to their doctor, because I am very big on disclaimers in my books. I have disclaimers everywhere, like this is not telling you to take antibiotics. This is just to talk to your doctor before taking them, but this is purely an educational tool.
Don't share them with your friends. Right?
Yeah, yeah, no, finish it all. don't leave nothing behind.
Dr. Franchini?
Yeah, a comment first and then a question. First comment is I would stay away from using the word retract for things,
Okay.
for pulling your books on and off the
Sure.
market. You can always revise and update.
Okay.
And I would also suggest that you slow roll some of these, growing and emerging topics, so you don't have to do that as often, right? Sticking with established things are far better for you. And then I guess from a question standpoint, I guess, how do you see so this is very much a mixture of social media influence and SciComm education, with your background, but you will not be an expert on all of these things. So have you thought about more of a team, like you as an individual person, this is great that you're doing this, but one of the criteria for this competition and think about is team. So who are the experts, or where are the areas of expertise you are missing that you feel you need to fill in for this?
For sure. So I think the approach that I'm kind of having towards the book is the books is peer review almost. When I published antibiotics when I was in my last year of undergrad, and I ran it by so many of my pharmacology professors, just asking for edits. Is there anything inaccurate? So every book would have kind of a different review committee in their area. So I would have that. And in terms of building my own team, I think the biggest time consuming part of writing the books is the illustrations. So definitely building a team of illustrators that will be able to, even though I do want to take my time, like you mentioned, with topics that have more solid evidence and kind of slow roll them, having a faster illustration process will help a lot. So building a team like that, as well as just the editors and reviewers behind it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Sounds like it's a good plan. Having illustrations are key for so much of this for SciComm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, judges. Thank you very much, Michal. I'm gonna unpin you here, and we are gonna move on to our last team. Or do we have Team Medico with?
Yeah, we are here to present. Yeah.
Okay, very good. I will pin you.
Good morning, judges. So, Goman, can you please share your screen? We can get right to it.
I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1, pitch.
Thank you. So we have basically built an application which works both offline and online. We wanted to create a multilingual electronic health information system, which is basically a telemedicine system for village health workers or the community health volunteers, because like information to them is restricted. And the thing is, like, we don't have a lot of infrastructure. We have limited availability of healthcare professionals in remote areas, and there is a language barrier. Like, even though we have capabilities
more so for
to
me, I had consumed the fumes of it, but I will put it together. And I was talking to Aaron about posting it this week, just kind of to get it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the interruption. So what I was mentioning was that there are language barriers. Like, someone in Kenya cannot access information in a suitable manner. Like, so sometime back, I was actually part of a telemedicine software, which was initially built for cancer patients, patients which were suffering from acute lymphoblastic leukemia. But as COVID-19 struck, like it was later scaled up. So we basically, my idea was derived from it. Goman, can you switch the slide? So basically, we have used the available APIs like the Google Translate API and the OpenAI APIs, which can basically take an input from any user regarding any healthcare issue that they might have, or like any emergency response that they want to provide. And irrespective of whether they have internet or not, they can access the resource. Goman, can you go to the website once?
Yeah.
We're not able to see the website. Where is this? Okay, we are switching between windows. Your screen is still showing blank.
I'm
Maybe
not able to.
You can just switch between the tabs or open a particular tab.
Yeah, one sec. Sorry for the delay.
Or what I can do is I can just share my screen. Just a second.
Yeah, so this is the website that we have created. So we can see that the health workers can tap on any of these major daily health issues, and they can get information right over here, which clearly tells them point by point what to do about the particular problem. So if someone gets a minor cut, we can clearly show them what to do, how to take care of a minor cut. So this can help the health workers in backward communities and backward countries to know the basic work they need to do. So can we continue with the presentation?
Maybe we can also show the text message thing that we have built.
Yeah, I'll show you that. We have some live working.
It's been about 4 minutes, so I think that we're just going to call it. I think we should move on to judges' question and answers.
Yeah.
And then you could show this if you want to help you with.
Yes. Yes.
So let's start with Dr. Hadass.
I wish I can see the whole presentation. There's some questions, but my question is, a healthcare provider sending a text message to somebody, and then he's answering a different language. Well, who's your market segment? Let's just start with that.
So I think like this is not the exact representation of what we wanted to show. Like you can basically enter a text in your own language and you would get the text, like basically the healthcare response in that language itself. So we are basically targeting communities that may be living in areas where internet is not so good. And but still, like even in India, we have use cases, like even though there is like in recent times there has been a big internet boom there, but there are places which have healthcare workers with limited knowledge, and we just want to support them in performing their emergency health response activities. Like this is of course not surgery, but this is something which is very basic, but it's basically access and it is multilingual. And basically we have implemented a language model that can basically take in any text and it can give them the resolution in just a quick second. And it's a low cost implementation. Like we also have kind of approximated what kind of annual cost and recurring cost it would require. So like we just felt that having this telemedicine access, like earlier I had mentioned that there was an application that was just scaled up to handle COVID teleconsulting. If we can have an application that can handle anything and can provide response to you anywhere, anytime, without any internet barrier, like we feel that we can help worldwide health workers around the globe.
So, so let me just to clarify, your market segment is a healthcare providers in a third world country with no access to internet, correct?
Yeah.
So how do you want these guys to pay $425 for your service?
So these guys won't be paying. Like what we are thinking is that, like we don't really have a business model here. Like what we are thinking is that it can be more like, since the cost is too low, like it can be supported by organizations who actually want this kind of a service to exist. So like we don't really have any business intention here, and we're not aiming to earn any money. It's just a free service which we feel that should be available, and it's a very low cost to pay for something that can potentially save someone's life, like a CPR at the right time with the right instructions would be critical in saving someone's life. So we feel that has more value than our software, which we were able to write in, like we actually did it as part of a hackathon, and we were able to get the code running in like a day or two. So it's a very minimal effort from a development standpoint, but we feel the impact is global and can really help people. So it can be part of a corporate social responsibility of some company. Like we will have to find the right candidates who can fund us.
Okay, Dr. Hill.
So I just give you a comment. I've been in the middle of nowhere in Haiti, and took care of someone with me, and people knew there was a doctor, and the next day someone walked an hour and a half to see me because I was the only doctor within an hour and a half walk. And I was able to take care of a laceration, a field accident, but I had him come back every day that I was there just to feed him. And I think in a low resource setting, the problems are bigger than information sometimes. And so I applaud, playing with the technology, but it's probably not going to be useful where you have to climb to the top of a hill to maybe get a text message. But otherwise, the intention is good.
Okay, thank you.
Like I do agree to that point. Like if even the cell phone towers are not working, then this model will fail. But like our intention is again not looking into complicated surgeries that someone will have to perform. And sometimes like it's not even about the village or like any remote place. Sometimes it's the city itself is so densely populated that you might have to wait in traffic for 1.5 hours, and you might have to perform some restorative action. Like let's say if I'm in a situation where I have to take a patient to the hospital, and I know that there are some methods to resuscitate the patient, which I can freely access through a text message service. And I know it's going to take some time because it's a traffic situation to reach the doctor. Then I think I will still have an option. I will still have a confidence of performing some activities that might resuscitate the patient. But I agree with your point that it is not a full-blown solution, but it's just an intermediary, I would say, enabler of things. So yeah.
Dr. Franchini.
Thank you, Dr. Rob.
Yeah, I agree. The concept is very noble, and I like that part of it. The first thing when we got to a certain part of this, I thought about was liability, and how I don't know if future investors will look kindly on AI giving out potential medical advice and that coming back to bite the company in the butt with any things that go wrong and things like that. So I would just consider that long term as you develop this out, because people will be reaching out to you when there's a problem, right? And you don't want to be blamed, and you really have to think about how you're going to train that AI to give good, clear responses, right?
Like we looked into several medical data sets that are publicly available for this, but I do agree with you, like if we have AI taking decisions here, like it can be very difficult, and like the feedback is the cost of a human life. Like even if we have a
Sure.
feedback mechanism that something didn't go well, it's the cost of a human life at stake. So I surely agree with you, but like I also feel that if we have a training data set which is verified by medical professionals, and like on top of this, if we have a facility to call medical professionals in that particular time zone who are trained in a particular activity, like let's say the AI gives you a response and you've already done this activity and you know that you can call the bluff that there is something wrong with this, then probably a service that, but again, it's assuming a lot of things. And what we can only control is that the data is verified by medical professionals. Like
And
adding
according to the
dependencies on,
stats, in Kenya, there's only one doctor for 250 villages. So for them to reach out and to get a solution for someone who's suffering from a cut or a injury, they can't be going and searching for that one doctor. It might be that the healthcare they get is late, and which might cost their life. Instead of that, they can go to our website, or even with 1 point of signal in a mobile tower, they can get a text message saying that what to do about the minor cut or the major cut, saving one's life. So we are here discussing about really backward countries where the WHO is trying their best to invest and get some action and save most number of lives there. So for example, that's we have studied about Kenya, and this can even translate the language in their own language. So people who have not literate, who can't understand English, or when some equipments are donated by WHO to Kenya and people can't read what to do with the equipment because it's written in English. So it's like they get the answers back in their own language. So they have to be able to only read it, and they'll understand what to do about the patient who's there right next to them suffering.
Okay, Dr. Feldon.
Yeah, I guess I'm having a little trouble figuring out what the training set is. What exactly what are you training? Are you training translation, or are you training medical advice? I just need some clarification, and part of it is you got cut short a bit on your presentation, so maybe it's an opportunity to kind of explain what the AI model is.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Feldman. So basically, we have a language translator which is independent of any AI or any response that will be generated. So whichever language you input your query in, it will convert it into English. And the training set that we have used or we have leveraged, we are actually using OpenAI APIs right now. Like we don't really have our own model up and running. Like we aim to build a bio GPT or something of that sort, but basically, like it is trained on English responses only, and it will convert it into the training data is in English, and it will generate a response to your query, which has been translated from your native language to English by the language translator. And once the query response is received, like we again retranslate it to the original native language, so that basically the users, either if they're accessing them over the World Wide Web or the SMS, they get the necessary directions or instructions in their own native language. So the training, again, to your original question, the training is being done on English responses only.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Team Medico. Really good job. Let me unpin you.
Thank you, Brandon.
And okay, everyone. So that was all the teams competing today. It was really great to hear all your pitches. So now what's going to happen is we're going to put the judges in a breakout room, and then they are going to deliberate for probably about 10, 15 minutes tops. And we're going to discuss, and then come back and announce who are our winning team. So if you all want to sit tight and, talk with each other, you guys all had a lot of really good pitches, and maybe, share what you thought about your pitches. So just give me 1 second while I put people in the room. Okay, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so now, after very, very careful deliberation, the judges have reached their decision. I just want to emphasize to everyone that we had some really, really fantastic ideas today. Clearly, there are some teams that have been working a little bit longer than others, but every single one, had some very rigorous thought. Research and dedication has gone into each project. So I just want to say you all did fantastic. And really thankful for your passion and participation in all this. Especially for second and third place, it was a very, very, very difficult decision. And the judging was very close. So I just want to say that you all earned your spots, and please continue to build, because I think that there is an avenue for everyone. We're all happy here to, especially me and our group SMD Entrepreneurs, we're happy to be resources, because this is only the beginning. This is really only the beginning. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Can you all see this PowerPoint here? Okay, great. So in third place, winning the cash prize of $125, we have drugs. Yay! So let's give a round of applause for Michal. Congratulations, Michal. You get to take home $125. Great job. And then in second place, with the $250 prize, which is again a very close decision with third place, was Gut Sounds. Yay! So congratulations to Krish. Really great job. And so for our first place prize, the winner of the competition and taking home the grand prize of $500, drum roll please for everybody here, is Flow Tonics with Dan Steiner. So congratulations, Dan and the Flow Tonics team. And
thank you, Brandon.
You're very welcome. And so for everyone who received cash prize, please, I will be reaching out to you, and we can facilitate you getting your prizes. But for everyone else who participated, thank you very much. Again, it was a very difficult decision. And I encourage you all to continue seeking out these opportunities for pitching and getting feedback, because this was a great opportunity for me. And I know that we all had, it was a really good and rigorous time. So thank you all to the judges for taking your very valuable and hard-earned time and donating it to the group. It was very valuable to have you and having all of your feedback. So thank you.